3 weeks passed since Lily arrived at the academy. In that time, she had become famous without wanting to be. Students pointed at her in the hallways. Teachers watched her carefully during class. Everyone wanted to know more about the mysterious human who had beaten Zeth so easily. Lily ignored all of it. She went to her classes. She ate her meals. She studied in the library. She acted like nothing special had happened. But the attention never stopped. Then, one morning, a ship arrived at the academy. It was not a student transport. It was a military vessel from Earth, painted in the dark blue colors of the Terran government. The ship docked in a private section of the station, away from curious eyes. Commander Krell met the visitors in his office. There were 3 of them, all wearing the formal uniforms of Earth's military. 2 were guards who stood silently by the door. The third was an older man with gray hair cut short and eyes that seemed to look through everything they saw. "Admiral Cole Bennett," the man said, extending his hand. "I am here to discuss the human student." Krell shook his hand. The human grip was stronger than he expected. "Please sit, Admiral. I have many questions." Bennett sat down in the chair across from Krell's desk. His face showed no emotion. He was clearly a man who had learned to hide his thoughts long ago. "Before you ask," Bennett said, "I should tell you that most of what I am about to share is classified at the highest level. I am only telling you because you need to understand what you are dealing with." Krell leaned forward. "What is she?" "The girl. Lily Morgan. She is not a normal human." "No," Bennett agreed. "She is not. Then what is she?" Bennett was silent for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Then he began to speak. 20 years ago, Earth faced destruction. A species called the Korthax invaded our solar system. They wanted our planet for its resources. They did not care about the humans living on it. In fact, they saw us as pests to be removed. Krell nodded. He remembered the Korthax invasion. It had been one of the bloodiest events in recent galactic history. The Federation had eventually stepped in to help, but by then, millions of humans had already died. "We were helpless against them," Bennett continued. "Our weapons were useless. Our soldiers were no match for Korthax warriors. If the Federation had not intervened, humanity would have been wiped out." "But you survived," Krell said. "The Federation helped you." "Yes, we survived. But some people in our government decided that we could never be weak again. They started a secret project. Its goal was to create soldiers who could fight any species in the galaxy. Soldiers who would make sure that humanity would never face extinction again." Krell felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Genetic modification? That was part of it. But there was much more. They changed everything about the subjects. Their bones were made stronger than steel. Their muscles were rebuilt to be faster and more powerful. Their brains were modified to process information at incredible speeds. Their senses were enhanced beyond anything natural. How is that possible? It is possible if you are willing to do terrible things. Bennett's voice was flat, as if he was describing something that had happened to someone else. The project started with 12 children. They were orphans, taken from hospitals and shelters. Nobody would miss them. Nobody would ask questions. Children? Krell felt sick. You did this to children? Not me personally, but yes. The project took these children and began changing them from a very young age. The younger the subject, the easier it was to make modifications. They were raised in a facility, trained every day in combat, languages, strategy, survival. They were never allowed to play or have friends. They were never shown kindness or love. They were treated like machines because that is what they were being turned into. The room was very quiet. Krell could hear his own heartbeat. How many survived? He asked. 1. Bennett looked directly at Krell. 11 children died during the process. Their bodies could not handle the changes. Their minds broke under the training. One by one, they failed, until only Lily remained. Why did she survive? We do not know. Perhaps she was stronger than the others. Perhaps she was simply lucky. But she completed every modification, every test, every challenge. By the time she was 12, she was the most dangerous weapon humanity had ever created. Krell thought about the small human girl he had seen walking through the academy. She looked so ordinary, so harmless. He would never have guessed that she was capable of destroying armies. Why send her here? Krell asked. Why send your greatest weapon to a school? Bennett sighed. It was the first real emotion he had shown. Because she asked to come. She asked? The project was shut down 5 years ago. Some people in our government finally realized how wrong it was. Lily was released from the facility and given a chance at a normal life. But she had never been to school. She had never had friends. She had never done anything except train and fight. So she wanted to experience being a student. Yes, she wanted to see if she could be something other than a weapon. She wanted to know if she could belong somewhere without having to hurt anyone. Krell sat back in his chair. He thought about Lily sitting in his classrooms, doing homework, eating in the cafeteria with other students. He thought about how hard she was trying to be ordinary. Does she know you are here? Krell asked. No, and I would prefer if she did not find out. I came to warn you, Commander. Lily is not dangerous by choice. She does not want to hurt anyone. But if she is threatened, if she feels that she or others are in danger, she will respond with everything she has. And there is nothing in this academy that can stop her. Is that a threat? It is a fact. Bennett stood up. Take care of her, Commander. She has been through more pain than anyone should have to endure. She deserves a chance at happiness. But do not ever forget what she is capable of. The Admiral left without another word. His guards followed him silently. The blue ship undocked and flew away into the darkness of space. Doc Krell sat alone in his office for a long time, thinking about what he had learned. He thought about the other students, who had no idea they were sharing classrooms with a living weapon. He thought about the teachers, who had no idea what they were dealing with. And he thought about Lily, a girl who had been turned into a monster, against her will, now trying desperately to prove that she was still human. That evening, Krell watched the security cameras as Lily walked back to her room after dinner. She stopped to help a younger student who had dropped her books. She waited patiently while the student picked everything up. Then she continued on her way, alone and quiet. She did not look like a weapon. She looked like a lonely girl trying to find her place in a universe that had only ever used her. Krell made a decision. He would protect her secret. He would give her the chance she deserved. And he would hope that the galaxy would never need to see what she could really do. The Nexus Academy floated in the darkness of space like a jewel made of glass and steel. It was the most famous school in the entire galaxy. Students came from 17 different species to study there. Only the best and brightest were allowed to enter. The academy had produced leaders, scientists, and warriors for over 300 years. Commander Krell stood in his office, looking out at the stars. He was a Verixian, tall and strong, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His people were known for their wisdom and their long lives. Krell had served as the Academy's leader for 40 years, and in that time, he had seen many strange things. But today, something felt different. He turned to look at his data screen. A new transport ship was arriving, carrying this year's transfer students. Most of the names were familiar types. There were Zentari nobles, born into wealth and power. There were Phyrexian engineers, whose minds worked like living computers. There were Delvok telepaths, who could read thoughts as easily as reading books. And then there was one name that made Krell pause. Lily Morgan. Humans were new to galactic society. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 40 years ago. Before that, They'd been stuck on their small blue planet, fighting among themselves and slowly destroying their own world. When they finally reached the stars, the other species had looked at them with a mixture of curiosity and pity. Humans were weak. Their bodies broke easily. They lived short lives. They were emotional and unpredictable. Most species tolerated them because the Galactic Federation believed in including everyone. But nobody expected humans to achieve anything important. Krell wondered why a human had been sent to Nexus Academy. Perhaps it was a political gesture. Perhaps someone in the Federation wanted to show that humans were being given equal opportunities. Whatever the reason, Krell did not expect the girl to last long. The transport ship docked with a soft thump. Students began walking through the arrivals hall, their families saying goodbye, their servants carrying their belongings. The Zentari students walked with their heads held high, their scales shimmering in beautiful colors. The Phyrexian students moved in groups, talking quickly in their clicking language. The Delvox students walked in silence, their large dark eyes seeing things that others could not. And then came Lily Morgan. She was small. That was the first thing everyone noticed. By human standards, she was average height, but compared to most galactic species, she looked almost like a child. She had dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her eyes were brown, the color of earth and wood. She wore plain clothes and carried only one small bag. She walked alone. No family came to see her off. No servants carried her things. She simply walked through the crowd as if she belonged there, her face calm and empty of expression. Zeth noticed her immediately. He was a Zentari prince, the son of one of the wealthiest families in the galaxy. His scales were a deep purple color that showed his royal blood. He stood with his friends, watching the new arrivals and judging them. "Look at that," Zeth said, pointing one clawed finger at Lily. "They are letting humans in now. The academy must be desperate." His friends laughed. One of them, a large Morthian with gray skin, shook his head. "She will not survive the first week. Humans cannot handle the training here." "Perhaps she is here to clean the floors," another one joked. Lily walked past them. She did not look at them. She did not react to their words. But something in the way she moved made Zeth feel strange. There was no fear in her, no nervousness. She walked like someone who had seen much worse than a few rude students. Zeth pushed the feeling away. She was just a human. There was nothing special about her. Lily followed the glowing signs to her assigned room. The academy was huge, with hallways that stretched for miles and rooms that could hold hundreds of people. Everything was clean and bright and perfect. It was very different from the places Lily had known before. Her room was small but comfortable. There were 2 beds, 2 desks, and a window that looked out at the stars. One side of the room was already decorated with colorful items. The other side was empty, waiting for her. Her roommate was sitting on her bed, watching Lily enter. She was a Phyrexian, with 4 large eyes and skin that was almost transparent. Lily could see the blood moving through her veins, changing colors as her emotions shifted. Right now, the blood was orange, which meant fear and worry. "You are the human," the Phyrexian said. Her voice was high and nervous. "My name is Vel." "I know," Lily said. She set her bag down on the empty bed. "I am Lily. I requested a different roommate," Vel said. "I asked to be placed with another Phyrexian, but they said no." "I know," Lily said again. Vel's skin shifted to a darker orange. "How did you know that?" Lily looked at her with those calm brown eyes. "Lucky guess." There was something in her voice that made Vel even more nervous. Humans were supposed to be emotional. They were supposed to be loud and messy and easy to read. But this human was like a pool of still water. Vel could not see what was beneath the surface. That night, Vel lay awake in her bed, listening to Lily breathe. The human had fallen asleep quickly and easily, as if she had no worries at all. Val could not understand it. Everyone was nervous on their first night at the academy. Everyone worried about whether they would be good enough, whether they would make friends, whether they would succeed. But Lily slept like someone who had nothing to fear. In the morning, Lily woke before the alarm. She sat up in bed and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the planet where she had been born. But she had no memory of it. She had no memory of parents or family or home. Her earliest memories were of white rooms and needles and pain. She had been made for a purpose. She had been shaped and trained and tested until she was perfect. And then she had been sent here to this school full of aliens who thought humans were weak. They did not know what she was. They did not know what she could do. And Lily was not sure if she wanted them to find out. She got dressed in her academy uniform and looked at herself in the mirror. She looked like an ordinary human girl. That was the idea. That was what she had been designed to be. A weapon that looked harmless. Il woke up and saw Lily standing there, perfectly still, staring at her own reflection. "Are you okay?" Val asked. Lily turned and smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "I am fine," she said. "Let us go to breakfast." And so began Lily Morgan's first day at the galaxy's most elite academy. Nobody knew that everything was about to change. The academy had a simple rule that everyone understood: be the best or leave. There was no room for weakness here. Students were tested every day in many different ways. They had to prove they were smart. They had to prove they were strong. They had to prove they could think quickly and make good decisions under pressure. The rankings were posted on large screens throughout the academy. Everyone could see who was at the top and who was at the bottom. Students who stayed at the bottom for too long were sent home in shame. Their families were disappointed. Their futures were ruined. Lily had been at the academy for 3 days. She attended classes quietly, sitting in the back and taking notes. She answered questions when asked, but she never raised her hand. Her scores on written tests were good, but not amazing. Nobody paid much attention to her dot that changed on the 4th day. During combat training, the training hall was a massive room with high ceilings and padded floors. Instructor Draven stood in the center, watching the students file in. He was a Morthian, a species known for their love of fighting. His gray skin was covered in scars from hundreds of battles. He had lost one eye in a war that happened before most of these students were born. He had no patience for weakness. "Today we test your combat abilities," Draven announced. His voice was deep and rough. "You will fight in pairs. I will watch and judge. Do not hold back. This is not a game." The students lined up along the walls. Draven began calling out names, pairing students together based on his own mysterious logic. Some pairs made sense. Others seemed unfair. A small Phyrexian was matched against a Zentari twice her size. She lost in seconds. Then Draven called out 2 more names. Zeth, Lily Morgan. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look. Zeth smiled widely, showing his sharp teeth. Lily walked toward the center of the room, her face showing nothing. "This is not fair," someone whispered. "She is just a human. Draven wants to teach her a lesson," someone else replied. "Show her that she does not belong here." Zeth stepped onto the combat platform. He was tall and strong, with purple scales that caught the light. His claws were sharp enough to cut through metal. His species had been warriors for thousands of years. He had trained in combat since he was a child. "I will try not to hurt you too badly," Zeth said to Lily. "But you should know that humans do not belong in this academy. Perhaps after this, you will go home." Lily stepped onto the platform. She did not respond to his words. She simply stood there, her arms relaxed at her sides, her eyes watching him. Draven raised his hand. Begin. Szeth moved fast. His species could move faster than most others. He pushed off the ground with his powerful legs, his claws reaching for Lily, ready to grab her and throw her to the ground. He never touched her. Nobody saw exactly what happened. One moment, Szeth was in the air, confident and strong. The next moment, he was on the ground, screaming in pain. His arm was bent in the wrong direction. Lily stood over him, one foot pressed against his chest, looking down at him with those calm brown eyes. "Yield," she said softly. The room was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They could not understand what they had just seen. Draven walked forward slowly. He looked at Szeth on the ground, then at Lily standing above him. His one good eye was wide with surprise. "Replay the recording," he ordered. A screen appeared in the air, showing the fight from multiple angles. Draven slowed it down to 1/10 of normal speed. Even then, Lily's movements were almost too fast to follow. She had stepped to the side at the last possible moment. She had grabbed Szeth's arm as he passed. She had twisted her body, using his own speed against him. She had broken his arm in 3 places before he even knew what was happening. The whole thing had taken 4 seconds. "What are you?" Draven asked. His voice was quieter than before. Lily stepped off the platform. "Just a student," she said. She walked back to her place along the wall. The other students moved away from her, creating empty space on either side. They looked at her differently now. The pity and amusement were gone. Now there was only fear. That night, Vel sat at her computer, searching through every database she could access. She had grown up believing that information could explain everything. If she could find enough data, she could understand anything. But Lily Morgan was a mystery. There were no records of her before age 12. No birth certificate, no medical files, no school records, no family information. It was as if she had appeared out of nowhere, fully formed, with no past at all. "This is impossible," Vel muttered to herself. "Everyone has records. Everyone has a history." She searched deeper, using skills that were technically not allowed. She found government files that were supposed to be secret. She found military reports that had been hidden away. And slowly, piece by piece, she began to see a picture that frightened her. There were mentions of a project. A secret project that had started 20 years ago and ended 10 years later. The files talked about subjects and modifications and success rates. Most of the details were blocked out, hidden behind security walls that Vel could not break through. But one thing was clear. The project had been about creating soldiers. Not training them, but creating them. Building them from the ground up to be perfect weapons. Vel looked across the room at Lily's empty bed. The human had not returned from dinner yet. For a moment, Vel thought about requesting a new room again. She could tell the administrators that she was scared. She could ask to be moved somewhere safe. But then she remembered the look on Lily's face after the fight. There had been no joy in her victory, no pride. There had been something else in her eyes. Something that looked almost like sadness. When Lily returned later that night, Vel pretended to be asleep. But she watched through half-closed eyes as Lily sat by the window, looking out at the stars. "I know you are awake," Lily said without turning around. Vel's skin turned a guilty shade of yellow. "I was just resting. You searched for information about me." Vel sat up quickly. "How did you know?" Lily finally turned to look at her. In the dim light, her eyes seemed darker than usual. "I know many things," she said. "But I will not hurt you, Vel. I am not here to hurt anyone." "Then why are you here?" Lily was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was very soft. "I am here because I want to be something other than what I was made to be. I am here because this is the only place where I might have a chance to be normal." Vel did not know what to say. She had never thought about what it would be like to be created for a purpose you did not choose. She had never thought about what it would feel like to be seen as a weapon instead of a person. "I will not tell anyone," Vel said finally. "What I found. I will keep it secret." Lily nodded slowly. "Thank you." They did not speak again that night. But something had changed between them. A small bridge had been built across the space that separated them. It was not friendship yet. It was not trust. But it was a beginning, and in the morning, Lily went back to her classes, pretending to be ordinary, while the whole academy whispered about the human girl who had destroyed a Zentari prince in 4 seconds. The attack came on a Tuesday morning, when most students were in class and the academy was filled with the normal sounds of learning. Nobody expected it. Nobody was prepared. The Korthax had been defeated years ago. Their empire had fallen. Their armies had been scattered. Everyone believed they were no longer a threat. But hatred does not die easily. Some Korthax had been hiding in the dark corners of the galaxy, waiting for a chance at revenge that they chose Nexus Academy as their target. The school was filled with the children of important families from 17 different species. If they could kill these students, they would cripple the next generation of galactic leaders. The Federation would be thrown into chaos. The first warning was the sound of explosions near the docking bays. Then the alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed in every hallway. A computerized voice announced emergency protocols. All students proceed to emergency bunkers. This is not a drill. All students proceed to emergency bunkers. Teachers rushed to guide students to safety. The emergency bunkers were built deep inside the academy, protected by thick walls and heavy doors. Once sealed, they could withstand almost any attack, but the Korthax were fast. Their boarding ships attached to the station like parasites. They cut through the walls with plasma torches. Within minutes, hundreds of Korthax warriors were inside the academy, spreading through the hallways like a deadly flood. Korthax warriors were terrifying creatures. They stood 8 feet tall, covered in hard shells that worked like natural armor. Their arms ended in blades sharp enough to cut through steel. They had been bred for war over thousands of years. Each one was a killing machine. The Academy security forces tried to fight back. They were well trained, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. The Korthax cut through them without slowing down. Lily was in the library when the attack began. She had been reading a book about ancient Earth history, trying to learn about the home planet she had never truly known. When she heard the explosions, she closed the book calmly and stood up. Other students were running and screaming, trying to reach the bunkers. Teachers were shouting instructions. Everything was chaos. Lily walked in the opposite direction. She walked toward the sounds of fighting. She found the first group of Korthax in a hallway near the science wing. There were 6 of them, massive and terrible, standing over the bodies of security guards they had just killed. Ahead of them, a group of students was trapped. The doors to the bunker had jammed. They could not escape. Among them was Vel. Her skin turned white with terror. The lead Korthax made a sound that might have been laughter. It raised its blade arm and moved toward the students. Lily stepped out of the shadows. "Stop," she said. The Korthax turned to look at her. For a moment, they seemed confused. This small creature, this human, was standing before them without any weapons. She did not seem afraid. The lead Korthax made another laughing sound. It swung its blade toward Lily, expecting an easy kill. Its arm never completed the swing. Lily moved faster than the eye could follow. She caught the blade with her bare hand, her modified bones strong enough to stop the strike. Before the Korthax could react, she twisted. There was a terrible cracking sound. The blade arm broke off at the joint. The Korthak screamed. Lily did not give it time to recover. She drove her fist into the soft joint where its head met its neck. The creature fell. The other 5 Korthaks attacked at once. It did not matter. Lily flowed through them like wind through trees. Every movement was precise. Every strike was perfect. She hit nerve clusters that paralyzed. She found weak points in their armor. She broke them apart piece by piece. The fight lasted 12 seconds. 6 Korthak's warriors lay on the floor, dead or dying. Lily stood among them, not even breathing hard. She looked at the trapped students. "Get the door open. Get to safety." Val stared at her with all 4 eyes wide. "Lily, what are you? There is no time. Go." Lily did not wait to see if they obeyed. She turned and moved deeper into the academy, toward the sounds of more fighting. What followed would be talked about for years to come. Survivors would tell stories that sounded impossible. Security cameras captured footage that seemed like something from a nightmare. Lily, Morgan moved through the Korthak's boarding parties like death itself. She did not use weapons. She did not need them. Her hands and feet were weapons. Her entire body was a weapon dot. She found a group of Korthaks attacking the medical wing. She killed them in 30 seconds. She found another group in the cafeteria, where young students were hiding under tables. She killed them in 45 seconds. She found a Korthak's commander leading an assault on the main bunker. She killed him and his guards before they even knew she was there. The Korthaks had come expecting easy prey. They had come expecting frightened children and weak defenders. They had not expected this. They had not expected a human girl who moved like lightning and hit like thunder. Word spread through the Korthak's communication channels. Something was hunting them. Something was killing them. Their warriors began to panic. In 17 minutes, Lily Morgan killed 42 Korthak's warriors. Commander Crow finally reached the compromised sections with a team of reinforcements. What he found made him stop in his tracks. The hallway was filled with Korthak's bodies. They lay everywhere, twisted and broken. And in the middle of it all stood Lily. Her academy uniform was torn and covered in blue Korthak's blood. But she was not injured. Not a single scratch. She turned to look at Crow. Her face was calm. Her eyes were empty. "The remaining hostiles have retreated to their ship," she reported. Her voice was flat, without emotion. "I can pursue if needed." Crow looked at the destruction around him. He thought about what Admiral Bennett had told him. He had known what Lily was capable of. But knowing was different from seeing. "That will not be necessary," he said quietly. The Korthak ship detached from the academy and fled into space. Federation warships were already responding to the emergency signal. The battle was over. Lily stood there for a moment longer, surrounded by her kills. Then something seemed to change in her eyes. The emptiness faded. Something else took its place. Something that looked like pain. "Are the students safe?" she asked. "Yes," Krell said. "Thanks to you." Lily nodded slowly. Then she walked past him without another word, leaving blue footprints on the white floor. That night, Lily sat alone in her room. Val had been taken to the medical wing with the other students who had been trapped. The academy was in chaos. Emergency teams were everywhere. Parents were calling desperately, wanting to know if their children were alive. Lily looked at her hands. They were clean now. She had washed them for a long time, but she could still feel the fighting. She could still remember every strike, every kill. This was what she had been made for. This was what she would always be. No matter how hard she tried to be normal, she would always be a weapon. She wondered if she should leave. Perhaps it would be better for everyone if she just disappeared. Then there was a knock at the door. Lily opened it to find Vel standing there, her skin a complicated mix of colors that Lily could not read. "You saved my life," Vel said. "I did what I was designed to do." Vel shook her head. "No, a weapon does not care who it saves. A weapon does not make choices. You chose to save us. You chose to protect us. That makes you more than a weapon." Lily did not know what to say. "I was scared of you before," Vel continued. "I will not lie about that. But now I understand. You are not a monster, Lily. You are just a girl who was given a terrible burden. And you carry it better than anyone else could." For the first time since she was a child, Lily felt tears forming in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Vel stepped forward and hugged her. It was the first time anyone had hugged Lily since she was 4 years old, and in that moment, standing in a room on a damaged station while the galaxy spun around them, Lily Morgan began to believe that maybe she could be more than what she was made to be. The Academy was evacuated for repairs. The Academy was evacuated for repairs. The damage from the Korthax attack was extensive. Walls needed to be rebuilt. Systems needed to be replaced. The bodies needed to be removed and the blood cleaned away. Students were sent to a Federation station nearby to wait. Their classes were suspended. Their normal routines were broken. Everyone was scared and confused and trying to understand what had happened. But one thing everyone understood was that Lily Morgan had saved them. The story spread quickly. Students told their families. Their families told others. Soon, the entire galaxy knew about the human girl who had killed 42 Korthax warriors with her bare hands. News channels ran stories about her. Military experts analyzed the security footage. Everyone wanted to know more about this mysterious weapon disguised as a student. The Terran government tried to keep things quiet. Admiral Bennett gave interviews where he said very little. He called Lily a gifted individual and refused to answer questions about her background. But the questions kept coming. Lily stayed in her temporary room on the Federation station, trying to avoid attention. She did not watch the news. She did not read the articles. She just waited and wondered what would happen next. On the third day, Zeth came to see her. His arm was still healing. It was wrapped in a regeneration cast that would fix the bones Lily had broken during their fight. He stood outside her door for a long time before finding the courage to knock. Lily opened the door and looked at him without expression. "Can I come in?" Zeth asked. Lily stepped aside to let him enter. The room was small and simple. There was nothing personal in it. It looked like nobody lived there at all. Zeth stood awkwardly, not sure where to look. "I wanted to talk to you," he said. "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For what I said when you arrived. For calling you a charity case. For thinking you did not belong here." He paused. "I was wrong. I was very wrong." Lily watched him carefully. "You are only saying this because I saved everyone during the attack." "No." Zeth shook his head. "I mean, yes, that is part of it. But that is not the only reason. I have been thinking about what happened. I have been thinking about why you are here. And what did you decide?" Zeth was quiet for a moment. He looked at his broken arm, then back at Lily. "You could have killed me during our fight. You broke my arm, but you could have done much worse. You held back. You showed mercy to someone who had been cruel to you." Lily did not respond. "During the attack, you could have hidden in a bunker like everyone else," Zeth continued. "Nobody would have blamed you. But instead, you ran toward the danger. You saved students who had laughed at you. You protected people who had treated you like you were nothing." "That is what I was made to do," Lily said. "No." Zeth's voice was firm. "That is what you chose to do. A weapon follows orders. A weapon does not make choices. You made a choice to save us. That means you are not just a weapon. You are a person. A person who is braver and more selfless than anyone I have ever met." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Zeth did something that surprised both of them. He bowed his head, a gesture of deep respect among his people. "Thank you, Lily Morgan. I am honored to know you." He left without waiting for a response. But something had changed. A door that had been closed was now open. The next day, Admiral Bennett arrived at the station. He found Lily in an observation room, watching the ships come and go. "The Council is concerned," Bennett said, standing beside her. "They believe you should be recalled to Earth. Why? Because you are valuable. Because what happened at the Academy has made you famous. Because they are afraid of what might happen if the wrong people learn what you can do." Lily did not look at him. She kept her eyes on the stars. "And what do you believe?" Bennett was silent for a long time. He had known Lily since she was 12 years old. He had watched her grow from a child soldier into something more. He had seen the reports from the Academy, the footage of her fighting, the interviews with students who said she was quiet and kind. "I believe you have earned the right to choose your own path," he said finally. "But the decision is not mine to make." Now Lily turned to look at him. Her brown eyes were steady and calm. But there was something new in them, something that looked like determination. "I am not returning," she said. "I am not a weapon to be stored in a facility until I am needed. I am not a tool to be used and then put away. I am Lily Morgan. I am a student at Nexus Academy, and I am going to graduate." Bennett nodded slowly. He had expected this answer. Part of him was glad to hear it. "Then I will inform the Council of your decision," he said. "I cannot promise they will accept it. They will have to." There was no threat in her voice, just certainty. Bennett knew that if the Council tried to force her to return, it would not end well for anyone. "Good luck, Lily," he said. "Thank you, Admiral." He left. The blue ship departed, and Lily was alone again with the stars. 2 weeks later, the Academy reopened. Students returned to find the damage repaired, the hallways clean, everything back to normal. But things were not the same. Something had changed. Lily returned to her room to find it filled with gifts. Books she had mentioned wanting to read. Snacks from a dozen different planets. A new datapad with a collection of music. Cards and notes from students she barely knew, thanking her for saving them. Vel was already there, watching Lily's reaction with all 4 eyes. "The students collected things for you," Vel explained. "They wanted you to know that you are appreciated." Lily picked up one of the cards. It was from a young Zentari girl who had been hiding in the cafeteria during the attack. The handwriting was messy, the words simple. "Thank you for saving me. You are my hero." Something warm spread through Lily's chest. It was an unfamiliar feeling. It took her a moment to recognize it as happiness. Classes resumed. Lily went to her lessons. She sat with other students instead of alone. People talked to her now, not about the attack, but about normal things. Homework, teachers, gossip, the small, ordinary details of student life. Zeth began sitting next to her during meals. Other students joined them. A group formed around Lily, people who wanted to be near her, to know her, to be her friends. It was strange and overwhelming and wonderful. One evening, Lily sat in the Academy's garden. It was a beautiful space filled with plants from 100 different worlds. Trees with silver leaves stood next to flowers that glowed in the dark. The artificial sun was setting, painting everything in shades of gold and pink. Vel found her there, sitting beneath a tree from a planet neither of them could pronounce. "You could have left," Vel said, sitting down beside her. "You could have gone anywhere in the galaxy. Why did you stay?" Lily thought about the question for a long moment. She thought about her life before the Academy. The white rooms, the endless training, the feeling of being nothing more than a tool. Because for the first time in my life, she said slowly, I have something that was not given to me by people who wanted to use me. I have classmates. I have a roommate who leaves me terrible music that I secretly enjoy. I have people who see me as a person instead of a weapon. Vel's skin turned a pleased shade of pink. The music is not terrible. It is absolutely terrible. You still listen to it, every night. They sat together in comfortable silence. The artificial stars began to appear in the dome above them. Somewhere in the academy, other students were laughing and talking and living their ordinary lives. And Lily Morgan, humanity's greatest weapon, sat in a garden with her friend, watching the lights come on one by one, and felt something she had never felt before. She felt like she belonged. She felt like she was home. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and full of wonders. There would be more challenges ahead, more battles to fight, more choices to make. Lily knew that her past would never fully let her go. She knew that she would always be different, always be set apart by what had been done to her. But she also knew that she was more than her creation. She was more than her abilities. She was more than the weapon they had tried to make her. She was Lily Morgan. She was a student. She was a friend, and that was enough. The stars turned slowly overhead as the academy drifted through space, carrying its precious cargo of young minds toward tomorrow. And among them, a human girl who had been made for war finally found something worth living for. Peace.